Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of B.A.M. Sports and Entertainment. That's Boris and Matt, Sports and Entertainment. And funny enough, those are our names. I'm Boris. And as always, I am joined by Matt.
Bonjour! How's everybody doing out there? We hope you're doing well. Beautiful fall morning here in Toronto in the big smoke, Boris. How you feeling today, man?
I'm feeling fantastic. Dude, huge news. I fell asleep before midnight last night.
Hey, Boris, getting rest like a human being. There you go. How do you feel today? Feel like a new man?
I woke up at like 5.
Nice. Well, that's something. Hit the ground running, I guess.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere, right? But on this week's episode of BAM, we have tons of sports and a little bit of wrestling chat. We will be talking about the MLB because it is September. It is when every game can count. We're going to be talking about the NL West, the AL East, probably the two craziest divisions in baseball today. We're going to be having some Hall of Fame chat. We're going to be chatting some NFL because today, if you are listening on the day that it's released, which is September 9th, it is NFL Day 1, Week 1, long season. We'll be chatting a little bit about that. And then we're going to be rounding up the sports talk with some World Cup talk because the first round, or the first group of games, just wrapped up last night for CONCACAF. And we're going to be talking CONCACAF because we are in Canada. That's what we should care about, CONCACAF. And then we're going to be in the wrestling portion of the show, we're going to be talking the first ever episode of WWF Superstars, which debuted 30 years ago. We're also going to be chatting RoH, and then we have a huge pick contest to wrap up the show.
Yes, sir. 35 years ago, Boris. We're friggin' old men, buddy. September 8th, 1986, Superstars debut.
What did I say, 30?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Taking 5 years off my life already.
Yeah, I'll take them 5 years back. No, I think we're doing well. I think we're in a good place here. But anyway, man, lots to talk about. I think we'll also probably briefly touch on AEW All Out just because it was such a spectacular event. Maybe not even go match by match, but just broad general thoughts, right?
Exactly. In general.
Yeah, we should probably talk about the rumors that Adam Cole, what his rumored WWE path was going to be. That'll be fun. We'll touch on that stuff during wrestling portion. I'm very excited for sports portion, especially baseball, man. The Jays are red hot.
Dude, a week ago, we were basically, week ago we didn't even talk sports, but 2 weeks ago, we were basically saying Jays are in a make or break week. Last week, they kind of floundered a bit at the start of the week, but the past 8 days or so, they have been probably the hottest team in baseball, beating some pretty damn good teams, having some amazingly fun games, especially last Friday against the A's, down 8-2. I wrote them off. I went to the bar. I wasn't even watching the game. Next thing you know, 8-8. And then even then, I still wrote them off. I still said, they're not coming back from this. And they ended up winning with a walk-off. It's beautiful. But yeah, no, the Jays the past week have just been amazing. It's been so much fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, such an entertaining team. The lineup, the young guns in the lineup, it's just so great. Vladdy, what is he, 41 home runs now?
Yep.
It seems like a team that really gets along. They're really like enjoying each other's company. They have fun out there. It's just a fun team to watch. I love watching the Toronto Blue Jays, man.
They are a super fun team, and it's like, you have to remember how young they are too, right? Like, they're such a young team still.
Exactly. Reminds me of the Raptors from right before the Kawhi trade, and then kind of in that Kawhi trade season. It kind of reminds me of that, just the guys gelling and just such a fun team to watch with so many young stars. We don't have like the veteran Kawhi presence really, although I guess you could argue Semien and you could argue Springer. They're not MVP level like Kawhi. Semien's close though.
Yep. He is. He's having a hell of a year. It's just like, at this point, what can the Jays possibly do? Apparently, there's a report over the weekend where we tried re-signing him, but that didn't work out. And he's still he is still in a wait and see. Like, let me finish the season, let me get my numbers, let's see what I'm worth.
Absolutely, and it makes sense. Like, he's going to test his value. But the Jays have deep pockets, and I hope we kind of break the bank a little bit. Even if it's like a 2-year deal and just like a slight overpay, I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
not my money.
Like deep pockets. Like, but even then, what does that mean, right? Like, yeah, our owners are Rogers, but they're not putting every cent into the Blue Jays.
No. But they should, Boris.
Well,
they should.
Right.
Rather than putting it into Rogers Ignite, am I right?
Well, hey, Rogers Ignite keeps us powered in the house.
Yeah, true. Thanks, Rogers Ignite, for powering this podcast right now, in fact. But, yeah, man. I don't know.
But, okay, I have a question for you. Okay, so Simeon, we don't know what he is going to be worth. In my opinion, we got to do something. We got to try. We got to at least, from an optics point of view, because management right now at the Jays, Shapiro and Atkins, no matter what they do, people are going to hate them. So everything is about optics with them, in my opinion. And you can correct me if you think I'm wrong. But, if we don't sign Simeon, at the very least, we need to make it very publicly known how hard we tried to sign him. I think that's the key, right, for me. And if we don't sign him, the optics are the important part. But if you had to sign one of these two players, who would you sign? Simeon or Robbie Ray?
I can only get one?
You can only get one. Because this is the reality. I think this is the choice that we're going to have this offseason.
Well, in a vacuum, I think Marcus Simeon, I think he's quote unquote better. Not that Robbie Ray's not having a great year. Robbie Ray's doing really well as well. Robbie Ray is slightly younger, but they're both around the same age. Marcus Simeon, born September 17th, 1990, he's 30. Robbie Ray, born October 1st, 1991, he's 29. So he's like a year younger. The only thing here is we need the pitching far more than we need Simeon. As dope as Simeon is, and as much as he has helped, we can get by without his presence in the lineup because we have so many other dynamic hitters. Like, we can afford the loss in the lineup way more than we can afford the loss in the bullpen. So I think we need to sign Ray if we had to make that choice.
Yep, I agree 100% with you. I think that's like what's been haunting us over the past few seasons. It's been our pitching, right? I think that in terms of fielding, I think we can make up for it. Like, I'm not saying a Simeon is a dime a dozen, right? But you can find an adequate middle infielder a lot easier than you can find a very adequate starting pitcher nowadays, in my opinion. Especially someone who would want to play here. Especially someone who, who I think would kind of benefit from our system and clearly has benefited from our system, right? And I think he recognizes this. Right now, he being Ray. So, and we have people on the bench. We have people like Espinal. We have people like Biggio, who we don't exactly know where they're going to play into the system. I'm not saying that it's a direct one-for-one replacement, but we have options at the very least. Having said that, the numbers that Simeon are putting up is just ridiculous. Like, it's just absolutely unreal.
Oh, yeah, man. He's like legitimately, like Montoyo said the other day, he's playing his way into MVP conversation. And that wasn't just manager speak. He legitimately is like sneaking his way into the back end of MVP conversation. It has to be Ohtani. And even then, probably Vlad's ahead of him on his own team. But still, like, Simeon's having an unbelievable season. But he's 30 years old. It's a contract year. I wouldn't want to sign him to like a Pujols deal. You know what I mean? But if we like broke the bank to sign both of these guys short term, I think that's the move, and I think it benefits both players too. Although when you're around 30, I think you probably want that long-term bag. I think it could benefit both players.
That's the thing, right? Like, that's kind of where I'm kind of like iffy on. It's like, and clearly we're not in the mind of Simeon right now. But like, what are you looking for? Are you looking for, clear out victory right now? Or are you looking for that long-term, I'm getting up there in age contract?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the latter. And I really, The more I think about it and the more we have this conversation here, I do kind of think you're right. And I do think the Jays will select Robbie Ray over Semien. So Semien, he might leave,
Yep.
This might be the end. This might be the one and only run. The boy, what a run it's been, man.
Yep. What a one night stand it's been.
Similar to ECW 2005 or a couple that I've had over the. No, I'm just kidding.
2006 wasn't bad, but no. So we'll see what's exactly is going on with the Jays. But right now, what are we? A 7-game win streak, longest in a couple years. Final game against the Yankees tonight. It's funny because I was having some conversations with my our good buddy Kevin O'Leary, who wrote the theme. Thank you so much for that again.
The real Kevin O'Leary.
Yep, we were saying out of the 7 games that we had left with the Yankees at the start of the week, we needed to win at least 5 of them.
Yeah, and it looks like we're you hit that goal, so that's pretty good, man. Oh, dude, like the schedule coming up is gonna be interesting. So after this Jays game, after this Yankees game, the Jays have 4 in a row against the Orioles, a 4-game series. Then they go 3 against Tampa, 3 against Minnesota, 3 more against Tampa, 3 more against Minnesota, and then the Yankees and the Orioles to close out the season. So there's a lot of Tampa Bay in there, man, and Tampa Bay's very good. But we also have a lot of Baltimore, and we play the Yankees, like you said, another time, another kick at that can. So.
Yep. And those games against the Orioles, in my opinion, are vital. Like, this is the thing about the Jays that have just gotten to me, especially this season. We can beat the Rays. We can beat the Sox. We can beat the Yankees. But the one team in our division that we should absolutely beat seems to be the team that we struggle against. Yes,
exactly. And that sucks. But you know what? Baltimore, we can this is the time, right? This is the time. And we have 7 games, I think it was, remaining against them. We can win, like you said, 5 or 6 of those 7 pretty easy. Like, it doesn't matter what's happened previously. Also, Minnesota secretly is the worst team in the AL Central.
Yep.
They're tied with Kansas City at the bottom of that division. So those are another couple perhaps gifts on the schedule that we can take advantage of. So I'm actually kind of liking where the Blue Jays are. It might come down to playing Tampa tough, 500 ball, and then it's just going to come down to beating the Yankees, man.
Yeah, exactly. And the last thing that we need is to allow the Orioles to play spoiler, right? I have a feeling that the Orioles are going to play spoiler for someone in the AL East. Like, looking at the rankings as of today, September 9th, the Rays are number 1, 88, 52, 629 winning percentage. Behind them is 9 games behind. You have the Red Sox. Like, that's crazy when you take a look at that. And the Red Sox have 80 wins. Half a game behind them is the Yankees with 78 wins. And then a game and a half behind them are the Jays with 76 wins. Like, can you imagine? There's a possibility that we can end in 4th in this division with 90-plus wins.
Yeah, it's happened before, man. We might have been 3rd before the 2 wild card games, but we've missed the playoffs with 90 wins in this division before in my lifetime, for sure. Perhaps more than once, but definitely at least once. But yeah, so the wild card in baseball now, instead of one team being the wild card, it's the top 2 teams play a head-to-head game. I actually kind of like that, although coming down to a single game after 162 is a brutal beat. But anyway, so the wild card standings right now are Boston leads. The Yankees are a half game behind Boston, and Toronto is a game and a half. So Toronto is a game and a half behind the Yankees. So they're right there for that final spot. But it's like you said, they need to still make up some ground. They need to make up 2 games on the Yankees to catch that spot. So it's very possible that we win 90 games and miss the playoffs, man. It could happen. That would suck.
That would be horrible. That would be just terrible. But at the same time, again, I think that if you're and I hate saying this, but let me try to phrase this as best as humanly possible. If you've followed baseball for a very long time, you will understand that it is no like shitty thing and like the team doesn't suck or it's not Atkins and Shapiro didn't F up this season. Like, you can't say that. But again, like it's the reality is it's like just missing the playoffs is missing the playoffs, right? Baseball still to this day is the hardest sport to get into the playoffs.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, 1,000,000%. And in this division, it's just weird how often it works out that so many teams peak at once. Like 4 of the best teams in the entire AL are in this division playing each other, and it's just crazy. But yeah, if you look at the Jays' run differential, they're closer to Tampa Bay and Houston than they are the rest of the wild card teams and the teams that are looking to miss the playoffs. So I do think that the Jays are playing the type of baseball that they should be playing. They're winning the amount of games they should be winning right now. Obviously, like a 7-game winning streak is a little bit of an outlier, but this is the team this is who we thought they were. The Jays are who we thought they were, Boris.
That's exactly it. And oftentimes the run differential, it's funny that you say that because I was going to bring this up. That stat is such an important stat after the 162 games. Like, we still have a lot of baseball to play. Yeah, a couple weeks, like what, 3.5 weeks left, but that run differential stat, is such an important stat to take a look at. And like you said, we're up there with like league leaders, right? So hopefully the stat of that stat being meaningful is comes true by the end of this season.
Yes, there's basically a full month, almost exactly. The season ends October 3rd, which is pretty close to 4 weeks exactly. So yeah, we're a little bit under a month.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what happens. But for those people who think, and this is why I love baseball, my 2 teams, I lived in LA, I live in Toronto. My other team, my first team, are the Dodgers. And of course, a division that is even crazier than the AL East is the NL West. Dude, a team can have 100 wins and not make the playoffs in the NL West.
Absolutely insane. Like, yeah, I mean, the San Francisco Giants coming out of basically nowhere. Like, I guess I get that they're an up and down team, but I don't think anyone expected this.
No one expected this.
It's pretty crazy.
People were already giving the Padres the division at the start of the season.
Yeah, 100%. And kind of rightfully so, or the Dodgers, because obviously those 2 teams, on paper, I think those are the 2 best teams in baseball, full stop.
Yeah.
So,
but if we take a look at the standings as they are today, this is just the NL West. The Giants with 90 wins, 643 winning percentage at first, 2 games behind them with 88 wins are the Dodgers. And then you have the Padres 15.5 behind the Giants with 74 wins.
Crazy. Yeah, so the Padres are not the team that we were expecting, but the talent is such there that they can get hot at any time. But yeah, what a race, and the Giants are crazy this year. Kevin Gausman, Cy Young contender.
Yeah, 100%. Like it's unreal, and like let's be honest. I'm a realistic fan. The Dodgers have poured in even more money since the trade deadline into the team, and the Giants are still putting up a fight. They seem to be splitting so many games with one another. Like, if you actually take a look at the division, it's like WWE booking right now. It's 50-50 within the division, and then outside of the division and everyone else, they're cranking every other team.
And Colorado has been relegated to managing San Francisco down to the ring. They're not allowed to be an actual full-time MLB franchise anymore.
They got their manager's license, and that's all they can do.
That's funny. Oh, man, it's a crazy year. But yeah, you brought up a good point. Especially after the trade deadline acquisitions, we should acknowledge that LA, the Dodgers, are by far right now the best team on paper. Safely. After adding Trey Turner and Scherzer in one fell swoop, my goodness, that's an all-star team on paper.
It's disgusting how on paper how good they are. But unfortunately, the Dodgers have the second worst manager in all of baseball, only behind Toronto's own Charlie Montoyo.
Yeah, a couple bad ones. At least Montoyo, I'd love to have a beer with him. Seems like a good guy. Not that Roberts doesn't, but I see way more of Montoyo. I'm kind of cheering for him. I'm kind of pulling for him, despite the fact that I know objectively he's not that good.
But here's the thing, though, and I know we're jumping back and forth with Jays and NL West talk, but, I'm all on the remove Montoyo trade. In fact, I built that train. I, went out, got the pieces of steel, and created that freaking train. But, I feel like his connection with the young stars like a Vladdy, that's what's going to keep him on the team.
That's I think that's interesting. Like, I think we've kind of touched on this before, but I think it will keep him on the team to a point, man. And that point, honestly, might be this season if they miss the playoffs. But if they go like 90, 95 wins and they just miss the playoffs because of circumstance, he'll probably get another year. So you know what I think? I think the barrier is 90, that nice round 90 number, no matter what. If he hits that and they miss the playoffs, I bet he'll stick around just because, like you said, the players love him so much. But if they miss the playoffs and they don't even hit like an objectively huge number, like this is a stepping stone, we're clearly taking the next step, I think he might. Yeah. I think they might need a different voice in the room. Although the problem is the pitching staff. It's always been.
Yeah, 100%. But at the end of the day, right, you got to do the best with what you have. And Montoyo sometimes just doesn't go with his gut. He goes with analytics. And sometimes, more than often, like, why would you remove Ryu when he's at 80-something pitches in the 6th inning and just, like, acing it? Right? Like, yeah, man. Yeah, I think so many managerial decisions come down to like front office manipulation, like numbers and such. Like, I don't think the managers do that much, but I do think like there are certain defensive substitutions that could be made. There are certain like pitching scenarios. I feel like he leaves certain guys in too long or left certain guys in too long. He relied on Tyler Chatwood way too much. There are certain things that he does like that are his decision clearly that I think are poor objectively. Yeah. But he's such like a good people person, and the guys seem to love him so much that the main problem is not Montoyo, although you could argue he is a problem. Yeah. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens this season. Personally, if I want the Jays to at least get 90 wins, because back in the beginning of the season, when Jason Agnew and I were on the midweek workout talking about the Jays, I said 90 wins. A lot of people said I was crazy.
Nice. Oh, well, bring it on. I hope we get it. But yeah, we should make the playoffs at 90 wins, I think. I do think the Red Sox and Yankees are cooling off, and one of them will fall below that plateau, buddy. Yeah. Do you want to quickly talk about the Hall of Fame before we get out of baseball?
Exactly. I was exactly going to segue into the Hall of Fame. So yesterday was the official Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I guess A-Rod was the main guy on that list.
I'm thinking, Jeets.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeets.
Yeah. Yeah. But
no, the boy for all of us, Larry Walker.
Exactly. SpongeBob, Pin, and all Larry freaking Walker. Congratulations, good old Canadian boy. So happy to see that he got in. I was confident. I remember 2 years ago watching Tim and Sid, because they were covering this like direct. I was confident that he would get in, but you never know with the MLB reporters. You just never know how they're gonna vote.
And it was his last year of eligibility, man. So the groundswell has been coming, but it had to happen this year because, with the MLB rules, like people are only eligible for so long on the ballot, right? So, man, it was a true underdog story for the Canadian boy, Larry Walker. But I love Larry Walker. He is one of the best players on Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball for Nintendo 64. Man rakes, speed, defense. I've always loved Larry Walker. Just a good Canadian lad playing in Colorado with those purple jerseys. How could you not love him? Yeah, and
it's crazy because you forget how good of a player he actually was, right? Like he was so good, especially for his time. I think that oh man, can you imagine if the Expos were able to keep even half the players that they brought up through their system?
Such a tragedy. The real Montreal screw job was the MLB strike in 1994, Boris. It's a real Montreal screw job, buddy.
Yep. But even then, the Expos screwed the Expos.
I love it. Oh, it's so good. It's true. 100,000% true. Pedro gone. Randy gone. If they would have had those level of prospects like today, Montreal would still be a franchise because I feel like someone would be able to manage that a little better. They would have traded them right for the proper amount of prospects back. I think Montreal would have done.
You know what I also feel? I also feel like if they had the right people in charge, the Expos could have kind of been like the Rays of the 90s, right? Like, 100%. Tell me how the Rays are the Rays. How are they in first every season? How are they in contention every single season with literally losing their best players every few years? Like, not that Snell makes a team, but, that's a huge loss. And if you look at their pitching, it's as if he's still there. If not, they're better without him. It's disgusting how good the Rays are. And then you look at their attendance, and it's like, I think a couple weeks ago they got the lowest attendance ever without COVID restrictions. That was like under 5K.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's really sad. Hopefully we live in a world, Boris, where within the next 5 to 10 years, the Tampa Bay Rays move to Montreal and become the Expos, and the Arizona Coyotes in the NHL move to Quebec City and become the Nordiques 2.0. Let's run them both back, buddy.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. All right, day one, week one, NFL season. Dude, here we are, longest season ever. Okay, before we talk about the actual season itself, let's talk about this. How do you feel about the extra game?
Kind of scummy. It kind of hurts. It's just dumb. It's clearly they're building to 18. Yeah, I think because 17 is such a weird number, but the 16 games was like a tradition for so long, and it worked out so well with 32 teams in the NFL, 16 games. It was so nice. I think they're just going to continue to add more and more and more games to this because it's such a huge money-making industry, Boris. How could they not, right?
When content rules, when the WWE can make $1 billion over 5 years, right? Like, what do you imagine the NFL can do with their TV contracts, and even more so, their streaming contracts? You split up TV and streaming, you can rake in billions of dollars each.
Yeah, exactly, man. So, yeah, the NFL is going to continue doing this. I understand why, but it is scummy. This is the hardest, most physical sport in the world. People get hurt, dangerously injured, life-altering injuries literally every week. So, man, it's intense. It's very scummy. But
look, you knew that the NFL and their owners, including Jacksonville's owner, don't care about the players when they added the Thursday game. That Thursday game was the scummiest thing that they could have done. Especially for the teams that play Sunday, Thursday. What the hell is that type of thing, right? What's that raw deal? And I think we're going to see more of this. I honestly think we're going to start, as we move into 18 games, we are going to see a Saturday schedule start to happen regularly.
Yeah, the only thing that was hurting that previously was the NCAA college football. And I do think that it's going to be weird with college football, but NCAA sports are taking a massive hit over the next few years, and college football is going to undergo a massive restructuring itself. So we don't even know what college football is going to look like in the next 5 to 10 years. Now, there will always be an NFL development system, and I assume it's going to be the NCAA in some form for the next 2 decades at least, probably, but man, it's really hard to say if college football is just going to dominate Saturdays in perpetuity. I don't think that's the case.
So. I think that's going to change 100%. It's kind of sad though, because traditionally we had Friday night lights, high school football Friday, college Saturday, and then the pros on the Sunday, right? But now, because of TV, because of payments, because of so many reasons why, it's things are changing. And Matt, what would you think is the number one thing that's changing college football? Why are we saying that in the next couple, especially decade or so, it's going to change a lot? What do you think has changed the most?
Well, the big thing was the college athletes now being able to make money off their names and likenesses, right? That's the huge thing. That's going to lead to hopefully video games and all these things coming back, and athletes being able to sell their jerseys and all this stuff. But it could also lead to crippling a lot of the small time schools. It could also lead to a lot of it could become, I don't know, it's really up in the air what could happen now from this point forward. That's a complete and total game changer.
Yep.
So it's just a complete reshuffling of the deck, and it's really hard to say what does happen to the NCAA. I think like college basketball being significantly less popular than college football is in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, 100%.
College football, I think, lasts forever, and college basketball will too, but it might be a lot closer to how college basketball looked in the 1960s and 50s than it looked in like the heyday of like the 80s with like Georgetown and like, you know, even the 70s and like the huge UCLA teams. Boris, you probably know about them.
Yep. Oh,
anyway, so yeah. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens to football anyway. But one point that I do want to make is we can't sit here in too much judgment because we both love football and we will both eat this season up with a spoon. You know what I mean? I'm going to be watching tonight. So it's not like I could be like the NFL's evil, although I do kind of think that they're scummy and I do kind of think that they're evil. I'm going to be watching every Thursday. I'm going to be watching every Sunday. And if they do Saturday games, I'm going to watch them too.
Yep, exactly. So we'll see what happens with the NFL and the NCAA and all that. And we are going to move the other football. And that is because we are in the middle of World Cup qualifying all around the world. Everyone talks about UEFA because that's where the big boys play, it seems. A lot of people talk about CONMEBOL because that's the South American teams, your Argentinas, your Brazil. We're going to talk about a little bit of CONCACAF. That is where Canada and the U.S. play. So essentially, the way that the qualifying works right now is there are 8 teams, and it's a round robin, and the top 3 make it into the World Cup. 4th place goes into another pool. So after the first set of games, which is 3 games, number 1 is Mexico with 7 points, Canada at number 2 with 5 points, and then the USA at number 3 with 5 points. Dude, this is huge for Canada. The fact that we were able to get a road tie against the U.S. in the U.S., hence the road tie, that yes, honestly could give us the key into making the World Cup in 2022.
That's amazing. Definitely glad to hear that. Yeah, coming off a big win last night over El Salvador. Canada's looking pretty good right now.
Yeah.
Didn't even have Davies for that game.
Exactly. Our young wonderkind Davies was injured against the U.S., so they sent them back to Germany to get evaluated and to heal. So hopefully he'll be back for the next round of games, which I believe is in November. But overall, we did not do too bad against Honduras, El Salvador, and the U.S. 5 points out of a possible 9. Let's freaking do it. Let's freaking take it. I'm super. Like, the game that I'm looking forward to the most is against Mexico. It's Mexico is Mexico. I can't wait for that. And obviously the return against the U.S. because it is essentially a one away game, one road game, one home game against these 7 teams. So we'll see what happens. But right now, as it stands, Canada is in second. As it stands, we're making the World Cup in Qatar. First time since 1986 that we could get into the World Cup. And I think if we do get into the World Cup in 2022, it'll really help us to get the automatic entry for 2026 when Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. host the World Cup.
Yeah, it'll be nice to make back-to-back tournaments because, we're sneaking in the back door in 2026, like you said. But, man, I'm very enthused for where they're at. And like you said, like without Alphonso Davies, we're still cranking the teams that we should be cranking. And it's a very good sign. We seem to be a complete team, seem to be on the right track. And we just got to keep firing. It'll be interesting. You said the next round's in November, right?
Yep. Another 3 games set in November. I don't have who we're facing in front of me, but we'll see how that fares. And Canada, our team is so young, and the number one thing that for me is we said it about the Jays, and it's more so important about Canada. We got to beat the teams that we should beat.
Yeah, 100,000%, man. So I was trying to load it up. Do you know the exact rules, like how many teams? Because there's a certain amount of teams that automatically qualify, and then I think it's the 4th place team. I think the top 3 teams in CONCACAF qualify, and the 4th place team has to play the winner of the Oceania League, right?
Yep, that's what set a top. So right now it's a top 3: Mexico, Canada, U.S. Right now, as it stands, Panama, number 4, would face in a playoff series against the Oceania.
Do you know who it would be currently? Sorry,
no, I don't know who it would be.
T's and dot the I's. No,
not right now. I think that they've just started their qualifying, so I don't know who it would be.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, they all start at different times. And the OFC, I guess, with fewer teams would kind of put that off till the end, right?
Yep, exactly. That's exactly it. So we'll see.
Yeah, so actually, I just loaded this up. It looks like the OFC has not even started yet. They haven't even officially named dates yet.
Yep, exactly. That's what I was kind of gathering. I know UEFA is underway. I know that Conan Bowl is underway. So that's South America and CONCACAF. Just because there's so many games, right? Like it's 14 games.
Yes, gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry to
no. I
just wanted to really put the finer.
We got cross T's dot I's on this show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Now let's talk about my fantasy football team for the next 3 hours. Starting with, no, I'm just kidding. But I am going to be talking a lot about Kyler Murray this year, Kyle Pitts. Like I said, Boris, I have a lot of young guns on this fantasy team. It's a 16-team fantasy league, deep benches, 17-man rosters. So I had to take a lot of lottery tickets in this draft. But I'm liking where the teams are at. And before we get out of sports talk, should we talk about the Dolphins a little bit? Dolphins are looking pretty sneaky.
They're looking sneaky. I think they're going to be the surprise of the entire NFL, not just the AFC East. I think they're going to be surprising a lot of people.
Yeah, I do think so. They can challenge Buffalo. Although Buffalo is the best team in this division on paper by far, I think they can challenge Buffalo. So yeah, myself and my roommate Fleetwood Brown, we usually we do written NFL picks. We've done that for the last couple of years over at my website sportsfap.com. We're going to be doing picks of some kind. I'm not sure if we're going to be writing out every NFL game pick this year. We might try to do like a mini podcast or a mini YouTube. But yeah, if you want to hear more NFL talk out of us, we do some kind of, we last couple of years we've done like a jokey article, like picking the games. And you know what? We're actually pretty good at it. Fleetwood's pretty dang good. He knows his football big time. Kicks my ass in the picks. But I finished all right as well.
Yep.